The rope snapped like a bad magic trick. My daughter just dropped right into my arms, wide-eyed with a piece of duct tape that said "Be quiet" still hanging from her ponytail. Yeah, you heard that right. Be quiet sign stuck to my kid's hair. You ever have one of those moments when you realize, oh, this is the story we're going to be telling at every Thanksgiving until the end of time? That was mine. Now, across the greenbelt, there's this teenage boy, Braxton, sporting a man bun, rocking a neighborhood watch sash like he's running for sheriff of absolutely nothing. He starts telling me real casual, "It's just hazing, sir." And behind him, his mother, Diane Culver, the self-appointed queen of the HOA, cups her hands and yells at me across the cul-de-sac like she's commanding troops on a battlefield. "Call your dad," she shouts, as if that's going to scare me. So I just smile, unlocking my phone. Great idea. You're not going to like which one. Name's Nolan Pike, by the way. I'm the guy who keeps his head down, pays his dues, fixes broken sprinklers at 11 p.m. Spreadsheet, hobbyist, single dad energy, even though truth is I'm happily married. We live in Maple Crest Landing. It's the kind of suburb where there are more ornamental rocks than mailboxes, and the lawns all look like someone's holding a ruler to the grass. You know the type. The HOA brochure promised curated family values, which basically means don't get creative. Diane's the curator-in-chief, a decorative scarf collector who can spot an unapproved mailbox number from 50 yards away. Her son Braxton, 17, his life goals seem to include vaping, filming people for TikTok, and repeating my mom's the HOA. Diane's campaign against my family didn't start with a bang. It started with sidewalk chalk. Yeah, you heard me. My daughter Maya drew some hopscotch squares on our own driveway. Mind you, and we got a fine for unapproved chalk art. I actually laughed when I read it. Then came a warning about Maya's scooter. Supposedly it violated something called quiet wheel hours. Guess when that is? 3 to 5 p.m. on weekdays. Right when the kids get home from school. Oh, and our Halloween ghost was apparently 2 inches too tall for decor compliance. You get the pattern here. We're not talking about the law. We're talking about the gospel, according to Diane. It got weirder. Diane started walking her Pomeranian tiny yappy little thing in endless circles past our driveway. 5, 6 times an hour, sometimes more. She'd stand there staring at our Ring camera, scribbling on her clipboard like she was writing parking tickets in Times Square. Meanwhile, Braxton took it up a notch. Started filming Maya at the park, posting videos with captions like, "Future covenant violator spotted," and "This one doesn't understand property lines yet." I wish I was making that up. I tried to be the adult, kept it civil, sent emails, documented everything, boundaries in writing. Diane fired back with an all-caps HOA newsletter, "Mailbox Anarchy," because apparently my mailbox numbers were in a font she hadn't pre-approved. I started to realize this wasn't about harmony, it was about control. And everything boiled over on a Saturday afternoon right under the community oak tree. Maya, 10 years old, future Uno world champion, tough as nails, was playing capture the flag with her friends. That's when Braxton and his safety patrol, 2 other boys, reflective sashes, all bought online. Probably Prime Delivery, decided she'd trespassed on the decorative berm. Their solution: tie her wrists with gardening tape, tether her to the tree, slap a duct-taped "Be Quiet" sign on her ponytail, and tell her she'd stay there until a parent could be educated about covenant violations. I still can't believe it happened. Well, Maya's not the type to sit quiet. She headbutted their so-called captain right in the mouth. So when I walk up, there's a kid crying on the ground, my daughter tied to a tree like some cautionary tale, and 3 teens trying to explain HOA protocol. You know that feeling when you go from disbelief to outrage in half a second? That's where I was. I called 911 immediately. So did Diane, except she reported me as a hostile man threatening neighborhood youth. I'm standing there holding my own kid, surrounded by a half circle of neighbors, most of whom saw the whole thing, and the Ring camera caught everything. Dispatcher stayed on the line while I cut Maya free with my pocket knife, sat her down on the curb, started recording the scene on my phone. Diane comes marching over, waving a stack of covenant documents like she's holding the Constitution, screaming about standard procedures and how Maya had resisted education. The officer shows up, looks at the rope hanging from the tree, the marks on Maya's wrists, then gives everyone the kind of stare that says, "Really?" He asks, "Who tied the child to the tree?" Braxton points at the clouds. Diane points at a binder labeled Community Standards. I just point at my camera, and remembering Diane's advice, I called my dad. "Let me tell you about my father. Colonel Everett Pike, retired Special Forces. Nowadays, he's more into gardening and grilling, but he carries himself like the guy who wrote the rule book on keeping things orderly. Shows up in his dented Tacoma fishing hat on calm as ever, like he's about to settle a very personal spreadsheet labeled consequences. He didn't have to bark orders or lay hands on anybody. He did what he's terrifyingly good at, organizing chaos. Asked the officer very politely if we could have the neighbors who saw everything stay put as witnesses. Set up a perimeter. He staged phones on folding chairs for continuous video, covered every angle. Then he sat the patrol boys down. One by one had them state what happened. Plain and simple, no drama, just facts. When he turned to Braxton, his voice went soft but sharp, like a warning bell you don't ignore. "Son, sit on the curb, hands visible. Take a breath and think carefully before you speak." Even Diane went quiet for a second. Diane tried to accuse them of military intimidation, but Dad just handed the sergeant a stack of forged neighborhood safety patrol badges, crisp, shiny each, stamped with a totally fake city seal that Diane herself had apparently designed. The sergeant's eyebrow did a pull-up. Next thing I know, officers are separating everyone, collecting the restraint kit, and calling for juvenile detectives. Dad quietly gathered all the evidence, camera timestamps, emails where Diane called the Greenbelt, a disciplinary asset, screenshots of Braxton's social posts about conducting detentions. The detective showed up with a school resource officer plus an ACPS liaison. Diane went pale. Statements were taken from every witness. Rope duct tape badges all bagged as evidence. The city attorney, looped in by the sergeant, flagged a laundry list of charges: juvenile assault, false imprisonment, contributing to the delinquency of minors. You could see Diane's confidence evaporate in real time. And then Diane tried her big finale. Under covenant law, she said minors may be temporarily restrained for violating community standards as per Section 12(4). The detective cut her off. "Ma'am, no. That's not how any law works. Not covenant, not criminal, not in this state, not anywhere." Her face looked like she'd swallowed a lemon. By Monday, a judge had signed a restraining order Diane and Braxton 300 feet from my family in the community oak. The HOA's insurance put a freeze on coverage pending a leadership review, which basically shut down all HOA operations. At the emergency meeting that night, the rec center was packed. Neighbors, parents, even teenagers on scooters, all filming on their phones. My dad sat in the back row, just his presence keeping everything civilized. I presented our evidence packet, every page in order. No one interrupted. The board voted no confidence in Diane. She was removed as president, effective immediately, and all her actions were referred to the city prosecutor and state attorney general. Braxton ended up in a diversion program, mandatory counseling, 100 hours of restorative justice community service, and a 2-year ban from anything that even smells like patrol or enforcement. Diane. Well, the judge delivered her sentence with all the satisfaction you could hope for: $15,000 in fines, $8,000 in restitution for Maya's therapy, 200 hours of community service, none of it in any supervisory role. No, she'd be cleaning graffiti off the skate park she once tried to have bulldozed. Permanently banned from ever holding HOA office. Again, 3 years probation, court-mandated parenting classes, anger management, and apology letters to every family drafted, reviewed, and approved by the court itself. Her face turned 3 shades of red as the judge said, "Any violation means up to a year in jail." Diane actually swayed on her feet, clutching her lawyer, mumbling about her reputation at the country club. The judge, already out the door. Diane stood there watching her tiny kingdom of petty power collapse while her lawyer quietly calculated how much he'd be charging her for the privilege. And as for me and Maya, well, let's just say the next time someone says, call your dad, you better believe we're picking up the phone. You ever had an HOA go off the rails like this? Think covenant law should trump actual law? Or is this just the suburban circus in a nutshell? Drop your thoughts below. Let's hear your wildest HOA stories, or just let me know where you're watching from. And hey, if you believe in real justice, not just clipboards and power trips, go ahead and share this story. Maybe together we can keep the playground safe for the next round of Capture the Flag.